on silent. How did that call come through? My phone was on do not disturb. Oh. Hey y'all, welcome to the very first episode of For the Girls. I'm Tariana, a therapist, a survivor, just a girl who's trying to figure it all out one chapter at a time. This podcast is for the girls who've been through it, the ones who've had to pick themselves up, heal from heartbreak, rebuild after trauma, and still find a way to show up for others with love and purpose. I'll be sharing my story from growing up in foster care to becoming a therapist to having to heal from one of the most hardest heartbreaks of my life. This space is about real conversation. It's about therapy lessons and healing through honesty. So let's get into it. What inspired me to start this podcast is that I've been through so much in life. Foster care, trauma, toxic relationships, and just seasons where I really lost myself completely. But every time I came out stronger and wiser. As a therapist, I see how many women and girls in the world go through similar things that I went through. And we have to go through these cycles silently. And I wanted to create a space where other women felt that we can heal out loud and talk about the hard stuff, because there's been lots of times in my life where I was forced to be silent about what I went through. And I just want other women to know that it's okay to heal out loud, that healing is possible, and that your past does not define you. That is the biggest takeaway from this podcast. The next question. Yeah, I can. Yeah. For the Girls means this is a space for us. This is a space for women who have been silenced, who've been overlooked, or who were made to feel like they could not be themselves and they had to shrink themselves to be loved or be there for other people. It's about reclaiming our independence. It's about reclaiming our voices and learning from our experiences and loving ourselves enough to go through the pain. Today, I can say that I'm grounded, I'm still healing, and I'm finally living life with a purpose. I feel like over the last couple of years of my life, I was really living in survival mode. I feel like I was fighting every day to be myself, and I had peace. I have a career that I absolutely love and a deeper understanding of who I am and the purpose that I have in this world. And the little girl who once felt unwanted and unseen finally feels safe. The reason is because I created a safe space for her. Growing up in foster care was hard. It was one of the toughest things that I've ever had to endure in my life. I had to grow up fast and I had to depend on myself. Yes, I was adopted into the most amazing family, but with that, there came a lot of experiences that no child should ever have to go through. There were moments where I felt abandoned, but it also taught me resilience. It forced me to understand people, to read emotions, to adapt, and to survive. Looking back, I realized that experience shaped my empathy and my ability to connect deeply with others. I remember the day that I got put into my adoptive home, I literally came with a trash bag. I know that that's often a stereotype, but that's one of those moments that I feel like really I look back and I realized that moment was something that shaped the rest of my life. One of the hardest things that I ever had to go through was feeling like I had to earn love. The pattern from my childhood really followed me into adulthood. I became a people pleaser. It is something that I still struggle with today. I have the hardest time telling people no, and it often comes back to haunt me later on. I have been afraid of rejection, which has caused me to hold back on being myself and sharing a lot of my feelings and emotions with others. But I feel like my biggest turning point came when I realized I didn't need anyone to choose me and I had to choose myself first. Granted, that is something that I'm still working with to this day, but I think that I'm slowly starting to realize that there is nothing more important when you put yourself first above everything else.
How did those early experiences shape who you are today?
They made me strong, but also self aware. I learned that trauma can either break you or it can make you and build you. For me, it became fuel. It became the start of who I am today and a reason to become the woman that I needed growing up. So, honestly, I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. I'm someone who truly has a lot of love and care for others in my life. And I think that comes from my experience being a kid in the foster system and having my own social worker myself. I wanted to be for others and be what I didn't have growing up. A safe space, someone who listens without judgment. I studied social work, I studied behavioral health, and did my internships and realized that helping people heal wasn't just my career, it was my main being, it was my calling, and that is truly the main reason that I am a therapist. It's not always easy. There are days when my clients' stories mirror things that I went through, and I think that's one of the biggest things that comes with my career is that we often hear stories from clients that we relate to, and so we have to really just be able to block out our own personal experiences in order to be able to do the work that we do. And I think that can be heavy, but therapy, boundaries and reflection are what keep me grounded. I remind myself that healing isn't really a destination, but it's more so a daily practice, and when I keep that reminder, I feel like it helps me move forward and helps me stay in place with my work.
People understood about healing from trauma.
That it is not linear, and it could take months, it could take days, it could take years. You'll have good days and you'll have bad days, and you might outgrow people who you thought would be in your life forever, but through that, it just comes with having gone through trauma. People you thought were permanent, but healing doesn't mean that you forget what happened. It really just means that you no longer let it control you. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I'm learning today is that I had to let go of my past in order to be able to move forward because I was letting it take control of me. And once you really learn that, I promise you your life will be 10 times better.
So, you okay?
Yeah.
So, Tariana, if you could describe yourself in 3 words today, what would they be?
Resilient, compassionate, and evolving. Right now, healing looks like peace. It looks like boundaries. It looks like choosing myself and slowing down. It looks like rediscovering joy, not from people, but from experiences and from within as well. That is one of the biggest things that needs to be known right now.
What would you say to your younger self?
I would tell her that you're not too much, you're never unworthy, and the things you went through were not your fault. And one day you'll be able to use them to help someone else find their way home.
You want name drop?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna change that. I'm not gonna name.
Dang.
I'm not gonna name drop.
Shit.
No,
Fuck.
I thought about it.
So, Tariana, you mentioned that your past relationships played a big role in your healing journey. How so?
I have really only ever been through two relationships that were serious in my life, and honestly, both of them were fucked. That's just the truth. My last one was a huge lesson for me. It was one of my biggest teachers. It exposed the parts of me that were still unhealed and the parts that craved love even when it hurt. It really forced me to confront my patterns and understand trauma bonds and also redefine what love really means. And that is something that I will never forget. It really, especially over the last year, it really changed the way that I view life. It changed the way I view myself, and it changed so many things. And I'm forever grateful that I went through that.
Tariana, without going too deep yet, how did the relationship challenge how you saw yourself?
That relationship broke me in ways that I never expected. But in that breaking, I found clarity and I found myself, and I learned that love without respect isn't love. And in no way, shape, or form is this podcast or this even the part about relationships supposed to be there to, you know, point fingers or anything like that. Because, and I'll get more into it into the next episode because there was parts of me that I also played a part. Okay. And but I did learn that manipulation disguised as passion is not connection whatsoever. And that experience taught me my worth. And that's what I want to share in the next episode and go a little bit deeper in that. Um,
So, Tariana, what do you want this podcast to stand for?
I want this podcast to be a safe space for women to heal, reflect, and be able to grow. I want every listener to feel seen, whether they're going through trauma or heartbreak or career changes, life changes. I want this to be a space where I can share my experiences. I can share experiences that, people around me go through, that I often kind of be a voice for them as well, and just help others try to find themselves again. It's for the girls who've been through hell and chose to love again and chose to really find themselves.